Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my 12-month progress report presentation. My name is Kata Haba, and my PhD topic is about the oral complications of type 2 diabetes mellitus. I'm a first-year PhD student and a second-year resident at the Department of Periodontics. I have two supervisors, Daniel Vég and Dóra Haluszka. My SMS is Jensinyi Cindy. My statistician is Gergely Agócs. My vision is to improve the life quality of patients with diabetes. My mission is to assess all the potential oral complications and target them. I have two specific goals ongoing. I started both of them last year in autumn. Let's see my first one, which is about correlation between salivary and blood glucose levels, and I'd like to achieve it through a systematic review and meta-analysis. My co-investigator for this project is Patrick Reuter. A little background for this. Diabetes mellitus, a chronic metabolic disorder, affects many organs in the human body, including the oral cavity. And there are many million patients with DM who have to endure the inconvenience, pain, and cost of measuring their glucose levels from blood samples on a daily basis. Therefore, my aim is to detect a potential new method for glucose level measuring in a less inconvenient way, if possible. My clinical question for this project is what is the relationship between salivary and blood glucose levels after fasting? We chose the PERT framework for that, where the population is a general population, index test is saliva test based on glucose oxidase method, reference test is blood test, and the diagnosis of interest would be correlation. My hypothesis is that the salivary glucose level matches with blood glucose level after fasting. And again, my clinical implication is to detect a new method for glucose level measuring if possible. I did my systematic search in 4 databases on the 22nd of November with the search key seen below. This is my flowchart of selection, where you can see that from almost 12,000 articles we went down to 25 food text eligible that we want to include into our studies. For outcomes, I have to mention that I have all my analysis finished thanks to my statistician. Let's see my first one. On this scatter plot, you can see the correlation between salivary and blood glucose levels from mixed saliva samples. As you see, we have different colors for the ranges of blood glucose levels. With green, we assigned the normal glycemic range, with yellow, the impaired fasting glycemia status, and the red one shows us the diabetic range. Each dot symbolizes an individual patient data, as we could extract them from 10 articles where it was available. And with the thick black line, you can see your mixed model, but the R-square value for this mixed model analysis was only 0.05, which shows us a very slight correlation, which is not that good. So we went back to the literature, where we found that maybe if we take into consideration the salivary samples, where the salivary samples were isolated from parotid only, it could show us a much more significant correlation. And it was so, but we could extract the IPDs only from 3 articles, and the R-square value was still not good enough to say that this is a strong correlation between the two values. Let's jump to my forest plot. On this forest plot, you can see the mean difference of salivary glucose levels between diabetic and non-diabetic patients in milligram per deciliter with a 95% confidence interval. We extracted the data from 25 articles, and the heterogeneity was 100%, which is quite high. This could be based on the fact that the measuring salivary glucose levels could be affected by many factors. For example, the glucose utilization of bacteria in the mouth, the contamination of saliva by gingival cervical fluid, etc. Our overall effect was 4.46, which is statistically significant but clinically still not relevant. And on this first plot, you can see the mean differences of blood glucose levels between the two groups mentioned earlier. And as we waited, the blood glucose levels were higher in patients with DM. And we carried out a meta-regression analysis also, which just showed us the same results that I talked about before. For the strength of our articles included, I have to mention that all the methods were described for sample taking for both the salivary and blood glucose tests, and they enrolled a big number of patients into these studies, but only a few articles included individual patient data, and some of the articles do not mention important health data that could potentially influence the measurement, and the articles were mainly published in Q3 journals. For conclusion, we could say that studies are contradictory in terms of measuring salivary glucose levels, therefore blood glucose level is still irreplaceable as a measurement. We implicate for practice that based on our research, replacing blood glucose level with salivary glucose level measurement is not recommended, and we implicate for research that targeting the potential influencing factors and developing a standardized methodology for estimating blood glucose levels from saliva or any fluid are needed if possible. And this is my first project progress so far. As you see, I finished all the stages. My manuscript writing is still ongoing because I've already written all the stages, and currently I'm waiting for my supervisor's answers if it's okay or not. My SMS has already checked it. Okay, and let's jump to my second topic, which is about evaluating oral hygiene and periodontal complications in patients with hyperglycemia. It would be also a systematic review and meta-analysis. My co-investigator for this project is Bulcsú Bence. Investigating link between periodontal health and hemoglobin A1C level, which is an indicator for glycemic status, is crucial for enhancing diabetes management because periodontal disease can impact systemic health by potentially worsening diabetes control. Controversially, elevated hemoglobin A1C level might aggravate periodontal conditions. Therefore, my aim is to show the need for regular oral checkups for hypoglycemic patients to integrate oral health into managing their diabetic status. My clinical question for this project is: how does the abnormal hemoglobin A1C levels affect periodontal health? We chose the PF4 framework for that, where the population is hyper and normoglycemic patients. The prognostic factor would be different hemoglobin A1C levels, and the outcome would be periodontitis. My hypothesis is that the stage of periodontitis is more severe in patients with higher hemoglobin A1C levels. And as you see on this slide, we had our first initial statistical meetings about this project. We could define some of the predictors and response variable effect sizes, but I'm going to tell you later why we are still thinking about this project, how we would carry it out. My clinical implication is again to emphasize the importance of frequent dental checkups among patients with hyperglycemia. We have our 3 key articles we'd like to work with, and regarding our progress in the second project, we decided with our team to make a brighter preliminary selection for proper Prosper registration. Therefore, I'm already done with title abstract selection, and so is Bulcsú, and I'm gonna do it until the data extraction phase, where we will check which variables are really available. And when we could define what to write into Prospero, then I'm gonna go back and write it and do it all over again. It takes time. For summary, I have 2 projects ongoing. I hope to submit my first meta-analysis this year and the next one on next spring. Thank you very much for your attention. I'd like to thank it for you by a quote from Louisa May Alcott from Little Women: "No good can come from doing nothing." Thank you very much.